For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. And you're going to see when you're there. Some of you have been there.
Americans say they do not have a lot of confidence in President Biden's ability to respond to this war.
I'm out here. Richard.
President Biden made a lot of gaffes over the weekend, including on the global stage in front of a big, wide audience. His poll numbers are slipping in the new NBC report, and also Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on the Oscars stage. Was it a publicity stunt or was it actually real? All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy in her named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Ooh, it's from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live on today. It is March 28th, the year of our Lord 2022. New you in 22. You should get that started. We're about 25% of the way through the year. Joe Biden was still in Europe over the weekend, made some speeches. Not entirely bad things to say on my end, but then kind of ruined it with some ad libs at the end. Also was speaking to troops and kind of did some standard Joe Biden-ish stuff. So we'll get right into that. So also too, I do want to talk about this Oscars slap. So we'll get into that later on in the program. I'm really curious to see what you guys think, if it is a legitimate anger or, hey, the Oscars ratings are terrible, let's try and do something to get them back up a little bit, to get our money, says Disney, which owns ABC. More on that later. President Biden gave a speech over the weekend talking about the Ukraine-Russia situation. Update on that, as is per usual. How we do that really quick. Supposedly, there are new peace talks taking place in Turkey today between Russia and Ukraine to try and figure out some sort of resolution to the awful situation going on in Ukraine. So there's that. If anything comes of that, obviously we will bring it to you. But the president was in Europe over the weekend, made a pretty, well, let me play this clip from the president's speech. I believe this was in Warsaw, Poland, but I lazy and I didn't look it up. But listen to this segment. If you haven't already, click the little like button. There's 1,000 more of you watching this that have clicked the little like button. It really, really helps us out, get to more people. Watch this clip and we'll discuss on the other side.
For all freedom-loving nations, we must commit now to be in this fight for the long haul. We must remain unified today and tomorrow and the day after, and for the years and decades to come. It will not be easy. There will be cost, but it's a price we have to pay, because the darkness that drives autocracy is ultimately no match for the flame of liberty that lights the souls of free people everywhere. Time and again, history shows that it's from the darkest moments that the greatest progress follows. And history shows this is the task of our time, the task of this generation.
All right, so that was just a small excerpt. That was actually put out by the White House. Pretty much across the board, I think over the weekend, all of your talking heads on the Republican side of the aisle, the conservative side of the aisle, the Democrat/liberal side of the aisle, all pretty much agreed that it was a pretty well-written speech and well-delivered by the president, which is unusual. Generally, if the speech even is close to good, he baffles it somehow by misreading the teleprompter or ad-libbing. Here's the problem. At the end of the speech, he did try to go off script a little bit and say something a little ad-libby, and that was what everybody ended up talking about over the weekend. Here's what the president said towards the end of the speech, which again, by all accounts, I think a lot of people agreed that it was a well-written speech. It was forceful in terms of anything that we can do aside from troops on the ground to stop Russia's involvement in Ukraine. And he delivered it well, honestly. Credit where credit is due. But then he went off script and did typical Joe Biden gaffe machine stuff that now has the entire world talking. Watch this 8-second clip.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God...
So you can't say that, dude. President spoke... Oh, sorry, it's in right here. I have the article right here. The president spoke in Warsaw, Poland to wrap up his multi-day trip to Europe. His comments mark one of the strongest statements made by a president and his administration so far regarding Putin being in power through the White House, though the White House sought quickly to clarify his comments afterward. Like I said, a lot of people agree it was a strong statement and he delivered it well until the freaking last part where he goes off the script and says something ridiculous. If you missed that last little clip, he said, "For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power," Biden said, standing outside the royal castle, emphatically declaring that at the end of his speech. Dude, you can't go saying that. So the reason why that's such a big deal, if you're not hip to the way foreign policy or global relations work, imagine if Justin Trudeau looked at Joe Biden, President Biden, or President Trump, or President Obama, or President Bush, whoever you want to look at, and said, for God's sake, they cannot remain in power. The question that the United States would be asking to the Canadian Prime Minister is, what do you mean by that? Are you going to take them out? Are you advocating for a regime change? And while a lot of people would probably not disagree with a regime change in Russia, you can't say that as the freaking president of the United States. The administration walked back Biden's comments moments after the speech concluded, with a White House official clarifying that Biden was not discussing Putin's power in Russia. The president's point, says this talking head from the White House, was that Putin cannot be allowed to exercise power over his neighbors or region. He was not discussing Putin's power in Russia or regime change, the official said. So there was that. I want to get to a bunch of the stuff, the back and forth between a couple of Biden's statements over the weekend, with the White House is trying to walk back. They've been walking back a lot, this particular White House, in the last week or so. But before we get to that, I want to get to this clip of the president talking to soldiers in Europe, U.S. soldiers in Europe, about when you get to Ukraine. Check this out.
And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle of front of a damn tank, just saying, "I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground." They're incredible.
Yeah, so speaking to soldiers, U.S. troops saying, when you get to Ukraine. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of people around, especially people that I agree with on a lot of things, saying, well, this is what he's truly thinking. This is the White House's true plan to send troops on the ground. I don't happen to think so. I think Joe Biden, President Biden, is a doddering old man and is simply just going off script again, and makes mistakes. Look, if you're not familiar with Joe Biden's political career, the vast 50-year political career, he does not say correct things a lot. I don't necessarily think that means has some secret plan, because one, I don't think they're entirely capable of having some big secret plan to put troops on the ground in Ukraine. And two, he makes gaffes a lot. But the problem that we're all having is the fact that he's continuing to do it on the world stage. Let me see. I want to get to this clip. This is just a clip of, actually, you know what? Again, disclaimer here. I think this is a video put out by the Republican Party, the National Republican Committee, RNC, put out by the GOP, but it does contrast pretty nicely some things going on, and I just want to put that disclaimer out there before I play this. So watch this video of the White House walking back the president's comments over the weekend again and again and again and again.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
The White House trying to make clear in the aftermath, or making very clear in the aftermath, he was not, in fact, calling for regime change.
And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle of front of a damn tank.
White House officials are telling us that
President Biden does not intend to send U.S. troops into Ukraine.
If chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind.
The United States has no intention of using chemical weapons, period, under any circumstance.
So yeah, there's that. A lot of people in the comment section not entirely enthused at the president. Richard says he is such an embarrassment, which echoes the comments from a lot of other commenters in the comment section. So there's that. That's the president being a gaffe machine. In addition to being a gaffe machine, polling has come out through NBC. Maybe you like NBC's take, maybe you hate NBC, but they are a serious polling organization, and they had a big poll come out over the weekend. Chuck Todd on Meet the Press was talking about this big poll from NBC. To give you some of the highlights, President Biden's approval rating dropped to 40% in the NBC News poll on Sunday. Republicans had a 2-point lead when respondents were asked which party they'd like to see take control of Congress, so about 50-50, probably within the margin of error. But you know what? Let me play this clip from Chuck Todd on Meet the Press this weekend, and then we'll discuss some of the other polling numbers revolving around the president and the White House. Check this out.
By a fairly large 71 to 28% margin, Americans say they do not have a lot of confidence in President Biden's ability to respond to this war. 57% say we are already at war with Russia or will be within a year, a very pessimistic view. 34% disagree. What's more, 68% would prefer Mr. Biden make the economy his top priority, compared with just 29% who want him to focus on ending this war. Overall, President Biden's job approval stands at just 40%, with 55% disapproving. This is his worst showing yet in our poll since he became president.
So that's actually really interesting. I want to get to those kind of like piece by piece. What was this one? Let me bring this up again. Confidence in President Biden to handle the war. Only 28% of Americans have a great deal of confidence, and 71% of Americans, over 2/3, 2 out of 3 people, say they have just some or very little confidence in President Biden's ability to handle the war going on between Russia and Ukraine, which is crazy. Just to put that in perspective, President Donald Trump, if you like him, you like him. If you don't like him, you don't like him. That's irrelevant in this conversation. But in this sort of poll, he had his 40%, 45% diehard people, and also probably had several more independents that he would have picked up to make that polling way better than President Biden currently is. Only 28% again. Again, if it's Donald Trump, that number is at least 50% with his diehard supporters and also the 5 to 10% of people that would have liked how he handled it. That's just statistics, right? But the American people not super enthused about how the president is handling it. The one thing that I thought was really interesting, that's that same poll here, is the top priority that the Americans had. 70% of people, 7 out of 10, would say, hey, President Biden, focus on the economy first. And only about 30% said ending the war, which is freaking fascinating, because if you're on social media, if you're on TikTok, you watch mainstream news, cable news, there is a huge push to get more involved, and even by some to put troops on the ground. Apparently, the warmongering far left of the Democrat Party is trying to push the president into putting troops on the ground or creating a no-fly zone or any of the other military involvement that they would do in the United States. But the American people are showing pretty consistently that they want the president to focus on the economy. Now, it goes without saying that I'm not entirely sure Joe Biden's full attention to the economy would actually do much good, but the overwhelming majority of people, essentially, whether or not it's Joe Biden, whether or not it's anybody, wants the government to focus on the economy here at home. That's what most people want. Isn't that freaking fascinating? 7 out of 10 people say focus on what's going on here rather than ending the war in Ukraine. So there's that. Roughly 71% of respondents said they believe the nation is off on the wrong track. Take two. We're not going to air this one. This is the rehearsal. Roughly 70% of respondents believe that the nation is on the wrong track. Some 62% have said their family income is falling behind the cost of living, which goes directly to inflation. Only 28% people have a great deal in Biden's response to the invasion in Ukraine. On coronavirus, interestingly enough, also, maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later, China is getting whacked with COVID. That's ironic, kind of interesting. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. 51% of adults approve of Biden's handling of the pandemic. The poll indicates up from 7% in January. Remember when the Biden administration and pretty much all of your big blue states did an about face and decided to remove all of the COVID policy? So there's that. 63% disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy. 51% disapprove of his management of foreign policy. So there's that. Not great poll again for the president of the United States. But such is the country at the moment. Let's see. Let's get into the fun part. This is a cultural show. Ultimately, we talk about politics a lot because politics has a big influence on our culture as an American people and as a global audience, I guess. I know there's people that watch in different countries, and I appreciate you doing so. Speaking of culture, the Oscars, which is almost culturally irrelevant at this point, had a big happening last night. These kind of conspiracy theories, I think, are fun because they don't really have any implications at all. But Will Smith, if you didn't see it, you know what? I'm just going to play the clip. We're going to play the clip. Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars. If you haven't already, there are more people watching than have clicked like button the entire time. If you haven't already, click the little like button. It really, really, really helps us out. Click the little share button because I think people are going to want to participate in this mock poll that we're about to do on whether or not this was a slap or a publicity stunt. So watch this clip and we'll discuss on the other side.
He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Will Smith.
So the live broadcast in the United States had to block out the sound here because there's a lot of bad words being said by Chris Rock and by Will Smith in the audience. He says, "Keep my effing wife's name out of your effing mouth." If you can read his lips, also the broadcast.
Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
So that happened. Will Smith apparently was super angry about that with one Chris Rock. Got up there, decided to slap him. Let me know in the comment section because we're getting a lot of people commenting already. Stephania, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says a PR stunt. Frank says it was definitely real. Valerie says that looked real AF. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, man. Oh, here we go. Somebody made a joke, and it's a funny joke. I'm not going to repeat that because I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for that. That was a hard slap to be fake, says Darlene. Yeah, interesting. Don says actors. We're split here. It seems like everybody's evenly split. I did a poll on my Instagram and like 75%. No, I think it's like 2/3 of people think that it was a fake slap. Now, just to put it in some context, the Oscars has been losing a ton of viewership over the last decade. The Oscars used to be like one of the biggest TV shows in America, second to the Super Bowl. Now, pretty much freaking nobody watches it. Now, if you were on Twitter and you'd heard about this happening, which I got several texts saying, hey, Will Smith just slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars. I had the inclination to turn on the Oscars and watch. But then I realized maybe this is a publicity stunt. This is exactly what they want me to do because the ratings have been tanking constantly for the last 10 years. So all of those things in context, Will Smith also having a big contract with Disney Plus and that nature show that he's doing, trying to get season 2 in the works, Disney owning ABC, maybe this was all part of the plan to get people to watch to see if he won Best Actor, which he actually did towards the end. Whoops, left that up on the screen. PR stunt. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out. Will Smith made some comments yesterday. Actually, I think he tweeted, just said, welp. Deserved the slap. So, I don't know. Didn't seem like a joke worthy of making global headlines for the next 48 hours. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how. I don't think we'll ever know. I keep saying we'll see. I don't actually think we will ever know. Mike says it was staged and they're both actors. But Tanya says, I'd be surprised if it was fake. Who knows? So that is that. Wait, hold on. Wayne, before we wrap it up, Wayne, you got the comment of the day that I actually think. Who cares? Yeah, exactly. I do think it's a fun conversation to have. I do think it's a fun conspiracy with the ratings department. ABC losing ratings constantly with the Oscars over 10 years. But in the end, who actually cares? And on that note, we will wrap this bad boy up. Tomorrow, I want to talk more about this Hunter Biden stuff that came out over the weekend. Daily Mail had a big, long thing. I got like halfway through that big article trying to understand it and condense it down and bring it to you fine people. Yeah, we'll try and talk about that tomorrow. There's also a couple other things that I want to talk about tomorrow. If anything comes out of the Turkey meetings between Russia and Ukraine, we will bring that to you obviously tomorrow. But yeah, same time, same place. Actually, you know what? It might be a little bit earlier because we're doing a bunch of stuff later on tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow. Same Dingy Bunker. If you haven't already, if you follow me on social media, I am hilarious. JOBOB, pretty much anywhere social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those. You can find me there. We can correspond on those social media platforms. That's going to do it for us today. Appreciate you taking the time to tune in. The slap was a PR stunt. I'm standing and dying on that hill. See you tomorrow. God bless America.